Hello guys, welcome to my channel. Let's talk about contrastive elements of general linguistics. Comparison between two or more languages, so the stages in the chronological life of the same language, is the method adopted by historical figures in order to understand the changes that take place in language systems. Such a point of view emphasizes the fact that languages are not static but subject to changes and are constantly changing, like the hands of a clock, which cannot see moving at a given time but after a while appear to have moved suddenly. The more the time gap, the more unfamiliar does the language appear. Even a native English speaker must learn Old English as he must any other language, Spanish, Russian or Danish. This confirms that language changes over a period of time. A historical linguist wants to know why it changes. He is not satisfied with the simple changed states, but must know the forces and mechanics of phylogenetic changes. By deducing the regions of change in a particular language, the historical linguist also formulates the general principles of linguistic changes applicable to all languages. So his task is twofold. First, to work out the genetic links between related languages through a process of reconstruction with the help of the available material, and to establish universals and general principles of phylogenetic changes that are applicable to all the languages by understanding the dynamics of change. Rusk and Switch were encouraged by the success they achieved in establishing links between such diverse and apparently unrelated languages as Greek, Latin, Sanskrit, and Germanic. Through rigorous comparative techniques, they discovered that there was a lot in common in them and went on working on them till they found out that the languages descended from a common source. Sir William Jones, for example, affirmed that the Sanskrit language, whatever be its antiquity, is of a wonderful structure, more perfect than the Greek, more copious than the Latin, and more exquisitely refined, yet bearing both of this strong affinity, both in roots of verbs and in the forms of grammar, than could possibly be produced by accident. So strong indeed that no philosopher could examine all this without believing that they have sprung from a common source, which perhaps no longer exists. There is similar reason, though not quite so formidable, for believing that both the Gothic and the Celtic, though blended with a very different idiom, had the same origin with Sanskrit 1786. Similarities began to be considered consistent and differences accidental. The study of Sanskrit also gave strength to the assumption of comparative math that languages which are clearly related in their grammatical structure must be related genetically and not accidentally, and it suggested the possibility of the discovery, or at least reconstruction, of the Unsprach, the original oldest language from which all languages were descended. Finally, the discovery of Sanskrit suggested that study could be made of Eastern and Western languages which would share their familial relations. The Danish scholar Rasmus Rask showed the lexical correspondence and pointed out its inadequacies, and felt that the surest way to compare languages was to pay attention to the phonological correspondences and the roots of the language. When the differences are smaller, the two languages appear apparently related. Portuguese and the Spanish are geographically adjacent, therefore share quite a lot of elements, or the two authors belonging to the closely following periods will certainly show relatedness. That is, Dickens and Bennett. As Hockett says, modern English is a direct continuation of the Old English of a millennium ago. It also contains a vast number of words and some other features which came into the language from French after the Norman conquest in 1066. In Sanskrit and English, we may find striking similarities of sound elements: sapta 7, asta 8, nava 9, dasa 10, but not with the Japanese nansu, yatsu, kokonotsu. Chosha rhymed clean and mean, but not clean and green. EA spellings were not rhymed with EE spellings, but Shakespeare rhymed break, speak, book, food, and Pope rhymed join with dine, tea with obey, grace with brass. Such differences pose problems in the way of explaining them. We may have the following explanations. More than one pronunciation might have existed for a word in those days as they do in our day for certain words. Morphophonemic process might affect the pronunciation. Certain phonetic environments might result in changed pronunciation. The sounds may show phonetic similarities but may be phonologically different. Any change in the phonological representation of one sound in each pair would account for the emergence of the phonetic difference. Thanks for watching.